Hey, everybody, and welcome to Narrative Live on a special and historic day. The Mueller Report finally finding its way in some form to us here in the public through Attorney General William Barr. Hello, Tracy. How are you doing on this day?
Wow, what a crazy Sunday, Zeb.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit speechless and overwhelmed. We're just getting this letter now. We haven't even had time to absorb it yet.
Yeah, we've been starting to look through it. It's certainly very revealing. It's probably not what many of our followers may have wanted to see in this particular letter. And that does not mean it's the end of the investigation, as we've noted and many people have noted before. There are still many other investigations that came from the Mueller report. But the letter itself is pretty, I think, pretty clear on what it says and what it doesn't say. So let's take a look at the front page here a little bit. Basically, what we're learning here is that this is a summary, right, of the Mueller report. It's not Mueller's report.
Correct.
It's Barr's report.
Correct. And everybody needs to keep that in mind. This is what AG Barr has sent as an overall summary of the report. It does not give any of the specific details, nor does this letter provide any of the backup documentation at this time. Right.
So that's really important to note. We don't know what made them arrive at this summary and these decisions. We do know that Rod Rosenstein and Barr spent most of yesterday trying to put this together, and that these are their essential findings. So let's go through these one by one. I mean, they determined not to make a traditional prosecutorial judgment. I have to confess, I don't really know exactly what that means, but I will say that they've decided not to prosecute.
Yeah.
I don't know if they decided not to prosecute because they don't have.
Just to clarify, Zev,
yeah,
I believe that is the special counsel's wording. We need to dig a little bit more into that. Yeah.
And look, it's clear that there was not sufficient evidence from the letter, no sufficient evidence to prosecute. It doesn't mean that there wasn't a crime that took place. It might have been that there was a crime, but not sufficient evidence, which is really where it comes down to. But we'll dig into this later on when we go into exactly what the prosecutorial judgment line in that report says. Now to the line that everyone is going to be focused on, I think. Why don't you take us through this one, Tracy?
Yeah, I need to wait a second here, Zev. It's not popping up on my screen. There we go. The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities.
Which basically, this is the conspiracy thing, right? I mean, basically, if you look at Mueller, there were two cases in Mueller. There was the obstruction of justice case, and then there was the conspiracy case, which is did members of the Trump campaign and Russia conspired to change the election results or to create an environment where the election results would change. And it seems pretty clear that it's on the conspiracy part of it, they did not find anything that's really significant. That's a lot for people to take. That's a lot of big new information.
Zeb, I think, we're going to dig more into this later, but let's not forget about Roger Stone and Roger Stone's indictment. And it was clearly a related case to the indictment of the GRU officers in the hacking and the spreading of the emails. So, and Roger Stone is not cooperating. So there's still a lot to come out in regards to collusion or coordination that we don't know about yet.
This is a really significant point you're making, and we can't express this more strongly. Basically, there have been many different cases that have been farmed out by Mueller to different offices of the Department of Justice. This particular case, the one that involves Roger Stone, is in front of the DC U.S. courts, so it's going to have a lot of attention, especially because of the market it's in. But our view of this particular case, and we've been looking at it for many months, is that this is the central crime of the conspiracy because it involves, on the one hand, the GRU hacking, and on the other hand, members of the Trump campaign like Roger Stone and various others colluding, conspiring to get the hack and the hacked information out. This clearly is what conspiracy is about. It's clearly what collusion is about. And that case is not going to continue until November. So November in this year, we're going to go back in and look at all these allegations that there was a conspiracy. So in fact, even though this report is quite clear saying that there is no conspiracy or they found it didn't have sufficient evidence, we could still be in a position where there is sufficient evidence because more could be found in all those incredible amounts of paperwork and documents that they seized from Stone's home. That's a significant amount of stuff that they haven't looked at. Plus, there could be further indictments, and those indictments could stretch to the family of Donald Trump, as well as to other associates in the Trump campaign, as well as Russians. So worth keeping in mind that this is not done. It is done for this report, but it's certainly not done in terms of the judicial system taking a good look at whether the Trump campaign and Russia conspired.
Yeah, and I don't think that the House is going to stop investigating at this point either. If anything, I think that they're going to be doing quite a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. And, this goes back to the idea of what impeachment is about. Impeachment is not a criminal offense. You can be impeached for things that aren't criminal offenses, hence the high crimes and misdemeanors part of impeachment. And there is going to be a lot of evidence from Mueller's investigation that is going to be delivered to Schiff and everybody else's door in Congress. And there could still be an impeachment process, even though Pelosi has declined it. It's hard for me to see a situation where they can't go down the road of impeachment now. I don't know. What do you think about that, Tracy?
I'm not so sure. I think we need to watch and see how it's going to play out. I think more than ever, our vote in 2020 is what's going to make a difference.
You're 100% right, but they have a constitutional duty. Now they've got allegations from the special counsel saying this guy, what is the line? I think it says it does not exonerate him.
It does not exonerate him. Correct.
I mean, if President Trump is not exonerated, there's potential for crimes and misdemeanors. You'd think they have to go through the impeachment process, but we'll see what happens. So this next quote is about obstruction, right?
Yes, this is on the obstruction charge. The special counsel states that while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. So I think we need to keep that in mind when we're going to see a lot of tweets and comments coming from the Trump camp and Sarah Sanders saying the president didn't commit a crime. Well, they're probably going to leave out the portion of the sentence that says, but he is also not exonerated.
This is really important. He's not exonerated. That clearly means there's a lot of stuff that went wrong. And there's a lot of evidence, They say there's not sufficient evidence, but there's a lot of evidence that clearly says a lot of bad things were going on and the president wasn't acting properly. It's not going to stop the choruses of we're being vindicated. He is now, the whole collusion thing was what are we seeing in the Nothing Burgers, I guess? We're going to get a lot of that. It's not going to stop everybody. So bear yourself. This is going to happen on your Twitter feeds probably for the next 48 hours, if not longer. A lot of people who we've been disagreeing with publicly have already started coming at us saying, you were wrong. And we're not wrong. There is a lot still to be sorted out here. We don't know what these other cases are going to do. We don't know what Congress is going to do. And we don't know whether the limitations of the purview of Mueller's mandate is the reason that he could not finally come up with a different conclusion. And we don't have the evidence.
And everybody needs to keep in mind as well, Zev, the title of the report is Russian Interference in the 2016 Election. That was what he was investigating.
Right, and he was looking for specific conspiracy.
Beyond that would have been sent out, and they were, and we know that.
And, there have been already, I mean, you talked about the Stone case. We keep forgetting the Stone case is actual felony charges related to collusion, the way it is right now. Because it does have him talking to WikiLeaks, and it's linked to the GRU hacking case that it was also indicted. So anyone who's saying that there has not been conspiracy or collusion is not correct. That case is still ongoing and will continue to do as it goes through the DC district. We'll be back later on, right?
Yes.
I mean, we have a lot to do.
we need some time to go through every, like, what did that Swalwell say? Every comma, every sentence, right. everything. We need some time to do that, but I think that we'll be able to give a really good analysis after we've had time to absorb the whole letter.
And what would be really great if you're watching this feed as it replays along your Twitter feed, just note any concerns or issues you have underneath in the Twitter section, in the reply section. We'll be reading those, and we'll know what questions you have for us when we come back later on to do a full broadcast. But a big day, there's no doubt about it. A good day for Donald Trump. You can't see it any other way, but it may be too early to celebrate. There's still a lot more to come, and it certainly, in our opinion, does not clear him of any wrongdoing. In fact, it probably raises the amount of concern there is about how much wrongdoing has been going on and we need to look at the evidence.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Bye, guys.